procurement professionals that I work with often tell me that there is increasingly little or no opportunity for competition within their categories, and this makes for really challenging negotiations. The backup plans may be suboptimal, however strong they are, and there is very little flexibility on the concessions we have. However we found ourselves in these sorts of relationships, they can lend themselves better to focused supplier relationship management and collaborative negotiations. However, there are occasions when one finds oneself able to use power. Maybe a requirement has changed, or maybe the customer need is different, or new information has been received. So my question is, if we have power, should we use it in our negotiations? There are some good reasons to say yes. For complacent vendors, it can be useful to demonstrate that it's the buyer's job to protect the profit of the business and to ensure the customer's looked after and we don't over-rely on any one supplier. For those buyers who have cut their teeth in an environment of abundant competition, it can be useful to use a muscle that has become atrophied over time, that is using leverage in tactical negotiations. And it's also useful for buyers to remind suppliers that we have frameworks for how we manage relationships, that suppliers who negotiate in a constructive way are rewarded, and suppliers who are obstructive and who don't bring new ideas do not enjoy the same access to our business and our personnel as those that do. However, there are some good reasons to be cautious about using power in negotiations. For those relationships that are thriving in the non-competitive space, it's exclusive, but there is continuous improvement and transparency. We don't want to damage them. It may have taken a long time to convince our suppliers that the language of partnership is not lip service. We are genuine in our intentions, so let's stick with that style in our negotiations. It can also be a sign of good business ethics that the buyer shows that even though they can use power, they choose not to in collaborative relationships. And occasionally, it can be helpful to shock suppliers with a different way of behaving, an unpredictable way of behaving that can re-energize a stale dynamic and introduce some new ideas and new energy into the relationship. So many times procurement professionals ask me when I'm working with them, how can I have more power in my negotiations? And I remind them that sometimes power is an illusion. It's based on perception, it's based on behaviors of human beings and the negotiation parties. Rather better, instead of trying to seize power from the other negotiation party, to think about how we can increase the power in the total relationship. Maybe to question, to challenge the concept of power in our negotiations and in our supplier relationships.